Welcome back. I gotta put this in the ether. Marriages does not solve any problem. Alright, what do I mean by that? When people think that what they're missing in life is to be married, right? And then they get married, right? And they're still not satisfied with what they're doing in life, right? That proves that marriage doesn't solve anything. There's when you seek out marriage to solve a problem, it's not marriage that you're seeking for, right? It's not marriage at all. Because I know a lot of people who got married and they're still in the same problem, right? So the marriage don't solve anything. The relationship are still at their worst. Some people are still miserable when they get married. They're still not happy. They're still not satisfied. And what happened? They think that starting a family will solve their problem, right? Which they're still, it doesn't solve their problem, right? I think it goes down deeper than that. I think it's an individual problem. They need to ask themselves, right? Is marriage the right thing for me? Are you a candidate for marriage, right? Some people are complaining that they think that getting married will automatically solve their problem, which isn't the case. I know a lot of couple out there who got married and they still have problems with each other, right? It's problem between the individual, not the couple itself, right? And that's the reality that people need to face these days, because they think that, all right, I think I'm gonna take this route. I'm gonna get married, have a kid, and I'm gonna be happy. Then this and that. When in actuality, it's not that simple. It's more complex than that, right? Sometimes people out there, they're really missing different guidance in life. They need different guidance, not just get married, right? Sometimes marriage is not the solution for most people. Sometimes guys are not programmed to get married. They're not programmed to settle down. Sometimes the women out there are psychologically damaged, right? It's more dynamic than just that. So if your situation is more dynamic than that, then marriage is not the solution to anything. If anything, marriage is gonna exacerbate the problem. It's gonna expose your insecurity even more. It's gonna make you more vulnerable. It's gonna make you more stressful in life, right? It's gonna make you more insecure with yourself, right? It's gonna put you all these problems, right? Before you get married, you should ask yourself, are you ready for this kind of commitment, right? I'm not for marriage because marriage is a big commitment. It's a big idea. I mean, if you are for marriage, if you think that you could be in this situation, if you think that you can handle the situation, the dynamic of dealing with people problem, other people's emotions, are you willing to handle people's baggage? By all means, go ahead. Don't let me discourage you from getting married, right? But what people don't understand is a very complex. It's more complex than what it is, right? It's more complex than what the media portrays it's supposed to be. It's more complex than what other couples are portraying themselves to be, right? When you see people get married, you don't see the type of dynamic they're living through. You don't see, you're not looking into each individual marriage with a microscope, observe what they do in their everyday. Some marriages out there, couples don't even trust each other's, right? There's insecurity issues, right? They think marrying each other will solve their problem, which in reality, most of their relationship cannot be solved at all. Look, if marriage can be solved, if marriage is a solution to most people's problem, why do some couple go to marriage therapy? Right? They go to marriage therapy, and usually that end up in a divorce. If marriage is the solution for all their problems, why do the majority of all the relationship that people get married, they wind up in divorces? Right? If anything, marriage will get yourself into more problems by get yourself into divorce courts. Right? You're just asking yourself to be in another system that you could have just avoided. When you're single, you're not obligated to be in a divorce court system, right? Now, when you propose to a woman, you just voluntarily put yourself in a corrupt system. Right? Now you got more complexity into your life. Now you're involving another entity, another state entity into your life, when you could have just avoided in the first place. When you could have just be with each other without signing a contract. This is one problem I have, right? Marriage. People think that marriage is all about signing a contract. Not necessarily. Right? There's marriage out there. There's marriage couples in third world countries, right? They're married with each other, but they never sign a contract with a state contract. But they consider themselves as husband and wives, right? But in Western society, they think that the idea of marriage is getting a license, and they think that getting the license will solve the problems, right? But in actuality, I mean, if money is a problem, it only solves problem for one person, and then that's the female, right? If that's the prerogative, if the female is a gold digger and she needed money, right? Get married, and that would solve all her problems. Because the husband usually gets screwed in that, right? That's the only problem it provided for. It provided a solution for the gold digging wife. That's what it does. But if you're a legitimate person who think that marriage will benefit you, I think you should take a second look at the idea of getting married. You can also get married without signing a contract, right? If you are more inclined to get married, you are still want to get married. You don't have to sign a contract, right? People are complaining that they think that getting married is you have to sign a contract with the government, right? That's if you want benefits from your job and all this stuff, right? But if you're a wealthy person or a person that's doing fine, you don't need to sign a contract with the government, right? If it has to do with benefits, you can buy your spouse her own individual healthcare benefits, right? If money's not an issue, right? So you do not need to sign all this stuff. Or you do not need to involve the government in this, right? If anything, marriage will bring more problems into your life, right? It does not solve anything, right? And if you're already a couple, why you have to marry each other? You already have each other. There's no point of getting married when you have each other. You get married, and what's life after marriage? It's usually the same thing. You ask a couple, hey, what's life before marriage and what's life after marriage, right? They usually say the same thing. There's no difference. We just get back to our regular life as we were when we were a fiance, right? There's no difference. The only difference is that you have a title now. You get to call yourself husband and wife. And most relationships out there, most women out there don't even want to be wives. They don't know what wife's supposed to be. All right? They don't want to submit themselves. If your partner don't want to submit herself to you, why are you getting married? So it serves no benefits. Right? It doesn't solve your problem. If you want a wife to cook and clean for you, right? And you messing with a wrong woman who doesn't do that, why do you think marriage is gonna provide solve that problem? Marriage is not gonna solve the problem. If you want a wife that cooks, clean, take care of your kids, and your partner is not that type of person, marriage is not a solution. Right? If anything, marriage will make more problems in your life if you don't know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing before you actually get yourself involved in this complex situations called marriages. Alright? I could be biased because I'm not for it. I'm not for marriage at all. If I'm for it at all, right? I'm not for the government getting married to the government, right? But I'm for like being in a relationship with a woman. That's fine. There's no, you can still be in a relationship. You can still have a kid in a relationship with a woman, right? The only difference is you're not inviting the government into your life. Right? So that's why I don't think that marriage is not the problem solver. It can't solve anything. If people really have problems, they need to solve their own individual problem, right? Without getting anybody involved into your life. If you have psychological problems, the last thing you need is marriages, because you're doing your partner a disservice by bringing your psychological life or brain damage or whatever it is to another partner, right? And not only that, what if one spouse have like excess baggage? Now you're bringing more. Marriage does not solve that excess baggage, right? You do not want the excess baggage. You don't want another kid. You do not want her student loan. You don't want all this and that. You don't want her debts, right? Or their debts or his debt or whatever it is, right? When you bring marriage in there, you're bringing more problems into your life, right? You bring more baggages, right? This is why marriage does not solve excess baggage. That's why, therefore, it doesn't solve problems at all, right? This grand illusion of marriage, right, that people like to perceive, that's been portrayed in movies, in Hollywood, in books, in fairy tale, that's all bull ass, BS, right? You need to realize that, right? And generation these days, they like to live in this fantasy world and not look things through a microscope and observe things for what it really is. It's just a hustle. That's what it is, right? You need to observe things through a lens of a microscope before you make any tough decisions, right? If you want kids, who to say you can't have kids, right? and you don't want to have kids out of wedlock, you can have a matrimony with God, right? You have to make pact with God. When you dig deep down into it, marriage is making a promise with God, not with the government. So as long as you made a promise with God that you'll be together, right? You're not, and you have a kid that's not out of wedlock, right? Who to say that you have kids? Who to say wedlock has to involve the government, right? You don't need to have the government involved into your personal life like that, right? And what people don't understand that they think that the government are there to help them, which they're not. They're there to make your life more complicated than what it really is. But back to what I was saying, that marriage does not solve any problems. If anything, marriage will bring in more problems into your life by introducing other people excess baggage and make it to your own, right? Excess baggage meaning kids, finance, and all that stuff that you do not want to deal with before you get married. Those are the problems that marriage will bring. It doesn't solve anything. If anything, it'll bring in more problems into your life. But on that note, if I missed anything, and you guys have anything to say, leave it in the comment below. On that note, guys, peace and blessings.